Admiral James Walker stood at the window of Earth Defense Station Alpha, his gray eyes fixed on the distant stars. The coffee in his hand had gone cold hours ago, forgotten in the tension of the moment. The massive fleet that had appeared at the edge of their solar system wasn't moving, but its presence alone had changed everything. "Sir," Lieutenant Tom Adams called from his monitoring station. "They're broadcasting again." Walker turned from the window, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays. At 62, he had spent 4 decades preparing Earth for this moment. "Put it through," he ordered, setting down his coffee. The alien message flickered to life in the center of the command room. A tall figure appeared, its smooth metallic skin reflecting light in ways that made it look almost liquid. The universal translator, developed through decades of intercepting alien communications, began its work. "People of Earth," the figure spoke, its voice carrying the artificial smoothness of translation. "I am Fleet Commander Vale of the Eternal Galactic Empire. Your world has been chosen to join our grand civilization. Resistance is unnecessary. We have peacefully integrated over 10,000 species into our empire. Submit now, and your transition will be gentle." Walker watched the message repeat twice before he nodded to Adams. "Send our prepared response." The young lieutenant's fingers moved across his console, but he hesitated before the final command. "Sir, are you sure about this?" The response, it might provoke them. Walker smiled, but there was no humor in it. "That's exactly what we want, Tom. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is warn your enemy." The lieutenant pressed the final button, and Earth's message began its journey across space. In the command ship of the Imperial Fleet, Fleet Commander Vale received the human response. The metallic plates that formed his face shifted in what his species considered a frown as he watched. The message showed a simple human male, dressed in what their intelligence suggested was a military uniform. The human's tone was calm, almost friendly. "Greetings, Fleet Commander Vale. I am Admiral James Walker of the United Earth Defense Force. We appreciate your offer, but we must decline. Furthermore, we strongly advise you to withdraw your forces from our solar system. This is not a threat. It's a warning for your own safety. We don't want to hurt you." Vale played the message again, his confusion growing. In the Empire's 10,000 years of expansion, they had encountered many responses to their arrival. Some species fought immediately. Others begged. Most submitted, but none had ever warned the Empire to run. "Analysis," Vale commanded. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Rax, stepped forward. "Our scans confirm previous intelligence. Their space technology is centuries behind ours. They have barely colonized their moon and one nearby planet. Their ships use primitive chemical and nuclear propulsion. They have no energy shields, no faster-than-light capability, no quantum weapons." "Then why?" Vale's voice trailed off as he studied the human's face again. There was something in those eyes that bothered him, a look he had never seen in a primitive species before. It wasn't fear or defiance. It was almost like pity. "Prepare the standard compliance fleet," Vale ordered finally. 500 ships should be more than enough for their 30 detected defenders. "Sir," Rax questioned, "is such a large force necessary for such a primitive world?" Vale kept staring at the frozen image of Admiral Walker. "Something isn't right. They're too calm. Check their historical records again. Focus on their military history." As Vale gave the order, Walker was making preparations of his own. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a command center few humans even knew existed, he activated a secure terminal. "Initialize Protocol Thermopylae," he commanded. Across the solar system, hidden bases sparked to life. On Mars, massive hangar doors hidden under red dust began to open. In the asteroid belt, weapons platforms disguised as mining stations powered up. And in the dark craters of the moon, Earth's real fleet waited. Walker looked at the alien armada through his command screen and shook his head. "We really did try to warn you," he whispered. "God forgive us for what we're about to show you." The first battle between humanity and the Galactic Empire was about to begin, and only one side knew what was really coming. High Commander Marcus sat in his private chamber aboard the Imperial command ship, his metallic fingers drumming against the crystalline table. The holographic display before him showed Earth's complete military history, or at least what their intelligence agents had gathered. "This makes no sense," he muttered, waving his hand to bring up another report. "Sub-Commander Rax, explain this to me again." Rax stepped forward from the shadows, his silver skin reflecting the soft blue light of the holograms. "Sir, humans are unusual. While every other species we've encountered developed space travel before advancing their military technology, humans did the opposite." "Show me," Marcus ordered. The hologram shifted to display Earth's timeline. "Most species have maybe 2 or 3 wars before achieving spaceflight. Humans have had." Rax paused, double-checking the numbers. "Thousands of wars. They've fought over everything: resources, land, beliefs, even sports competitions." Marcus leaned forward, his faceplates shifting in what passed for a frown. "And their weapons. That's the strangest part, sir." Rax brought up images of Earth's military equipment. "They still use projectile weapons and chemical explosives, but they've refined these primitive technologies to an art form. Their missiles don't need quantum guidance because they've perfected standard targeting systems over centuries of use." The display showed clips from Earth's most recent conflicts. Marcus watched as human soldiers fought in different terrains: deserts, jungles, mountains, and even Arctic regions. "They adapt quickly," he noted. "Too quickly," Rax agreed. "And sir, there's something else. These records, they feel too easy to access. It's like they want us to see this." Marcus stood and walked to his viewport, watching the Earth float in the distance. The blue planet looked peaceful, harmless even. "You think they're hiding something. Our deep scan teams report unusual energy readings from their moon and Mars. When we try to investigate closer, our probes malfunction." "Malfunction how?" "They just disappear. No debris, no distress signal. They're just gone." Rax pulled up another report. "And sir, about that warning they sent us." Marcus turned back to face his subordinate. "What about it?" "We ran it through our behavior analysis systems. Admiral Walker's vital signs during the message showed no fear, no stress, no deception. He genuinely meant it as a warning, not a threat." The High Commander walked back to the holographic display, studying Admiral Walker's face again. "In 10,000 years of Imperial expansion, we've never retreated. Not once." He paused, considering. "What's the status of Fleet Commander Vale's compliance fleet?" 500 ships, ready to launch on your command." Marcus nodded slowly. "Send them in," but he hesitated. "Tell them to be cautious. Something about this feels wrong. Have them scan for any anomalies before engaging." As Rax left to relay the orders, Marcus continued studying Earth's military history. He stopped at an image of an ancient Earth battle, a small force of warriors holding off a massive army at a place called Thermopylae. "Sir," a communication officer's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Fleet Commander Vale requests final authorization to begin standard conquest procedures." Marcus looked once more at the peaceful-looking Earth, then at the ancient battle image. Something about this whole situation bothered him, but the Empire's pride wouldn't allow them to back down from a primitive world's warning. "Authorization granted," he said finally, "but tell Vale to record everything. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." As the compliance fleet began its advance toward Earth, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something obvious. The human's warning kept repeating in his mind. "We don't want to hurt you." Not, "We can't hurt you," or "Please don't hurt us," but "We don't want to hurt you." The difference seemed important, but he couldn't understand why. He was about to learn the answer, and it would change the Empire forever. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a command center known only to a handful of people, Admiral Walker stood before a wall of screens. Each one showed a different part of humanity's true defense network. Not the decoy satellites and ships they'd let the Empire scan, but the real ones. All stealth systems are working perfectly, sir, Captain Robert Miller reported from his station. The Empire's scans still only show our dummy fleet. Walker nodded, watching as the Empire's ships moved closer to Earth. Status of the lunar fleet. All 50 ships powered up and ready in the dark craters. Empire hasn't detected a thing. Miller brought up another display. Mars base reports their 100 ships are also ready. Asteroid belt weapon platforms are charged and waiting. And the special weapons? Miller smiled slightly. Our primitive nuclear mines are in position, completely invisible to their advanced sensors. They're still looking for energy signatures, not simple metal objects. Walker walked to another screen showing Earth's ground defenses. For decades, they had kept their best technology hidden, letting the world think they were still using basic weapons. The truth was very different. "Show me the electromagnetic pulse cannons," he ordered. The screen changed to show massive guns hidden inside mountains and under oceans. These weapons didn't use the Empire's fancy quantum technology. Instead, they used simple physics, electromagnetic pulses that could shut down any electronic device. The Empire's advanced ships had never needed protection against such outdated weapons. "Sir," a young analyst called out, "we're picking up transmission from the Empire's fleet to their command ship. They're running final scans before attack." Walker checked the time. Everything was going according to plan. The Empire's ships were almost in position, right where humanity wanted them. "Activate Protocol Thermopyle. Phase 2, Walker commanded. Across the solar system, hidden preparations began. In the asteroid belt, special containers opened, releasing thousands of tiny pods. Each pod contained a simple nuclear weapon wrapped in stealth material. They looked like space rocks to the Empire's scanners. On the moon's dark side, humanity's real ships powered up their engines. These weren't the chemical rockets the Empire had seen. They were nuclear pulse drives, simple but incredibly powerful engines that used small nuclear explosions for thrust. "Message from Mars base," Miller reported. "Their railgun network is ready. All 200 electromagnetic launchers are locked on the calculated attack zones." Walker looked at another screen showing the Empire's fleet formation. They were using standard attack patterns, exactly as expected. Humanity had studied the Empire's tactics for years, watching how they conquered other worlds. "They still think we're primitive," Walker said quietly. "They don't understand that we chose to stay primitive because it works better." A lieutenant walked up with a tablet showing final calculations. "Sir, our predictions show they'll split their fleet into 3 groups, standard Imperial conquest formation. They'll expect our 30 decoy ships to defend Earth while they send forces to the Moon and Mars." Walker nodded. The Empire was so predictable. They'd used the same tactics for thousands of years because no one had ever beaten them. They'd never needed to change or adapt. "Time to show them why we warned them to run," Walker said. He pressed a button on his command console, sending a signal throughout the solar system. "All units, prepare for combat. Remember your training. We've practiced this for years." In space, the Empire's fleet began their final approach. Their sensors showed only a few primitive Earth ships and basic orbital defenses. They had no idea they were flying into the most carefully planned trap in human military history. "Send one last message to the Empire's command ship," Walker ordered. "Keep it simple." The communication officer nodded and typed. "Final warning. Retreat now. What happens next is your choice." As the message was sent, Walker looked at the battle map one last time. In 20 minutes, the Empire would learn why humans had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Fleet Commander Vale stood proudly on his command ship's bridge as his fleet approached Earth. The tactical display showed his 500 ships splitting into 3 perfect attack groups, just as they had done in countless conquests before. "All ships in position," his tactical officer reported. "Enemy fleet still shows only 30 vessels near Earth. No other defensive systems detected. Vale smiled. This would be another easy victory for the Empire. Begin the attack. Standard conquest pattern. The Imperial ships accelerated toward their targets. The first group headed for Earth, the second for the Moon, and the third for Mars. They were halfway to their targets when everything went wrong. The first sign of trouble came from the Mars attack group. "Sir," a panicked voice called over the command channel. "We're detecting multiple small objects appearing around our ships." Vale looked at his display just in time to see hundreds of dots appear around his fleet. The dots looked like normal space debris on their scanners, but they were moving too regularly. "Evasive action," he shouted, but it was too late. The space debris was actually humanity's hidden nuclear mines. They detonated in sequence, creating a web of nuclear explosions that trapped the Imperial ships. The Empire's energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against the simple physical force of nuclear blasts. Second group reports massive energy disruption. Another officer called out. The Moon attack force's ships were suddenly shutting down, their advanced systems disabled by primitive but powerful electromagnetic pulses fired from hidden bases in the lunar craters. Vale watched in horror as his perfect formation fell apart. "Where are the human ships? Show me their fleet." As if answering his question, the dark side of the Moon lit up. 50 massive human warships appeared, their nuclear pulse engines blazing like small suns. They weren't using fancy quantum drives or plasma engines. Instead, they used the raw power of nuclear explosions to move, making them faster and more maneuverable than anything the Empire had expected. "Sir, Mars base detecting multiple launches." The tactical display showed 200 simple metal projectiles launching from the red planet's surface. The Empire's ships tried to dodge, but the railgun shots were too fast. Each hit carried the force of a small asteroid, punching straight through Imperial shields designed to stop energy weapons. "This is impossible," Vale whispered as he watched his fleet being torn apart by weapons that his sensors could barely detect. "Where are their energy weapons, their quantum torpedoes?" The answer came in the form of more human ships rising from hidden bases in the asteroid belt. These ships didn't shoot energy beams or plasma. They fired simple metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds, tearing through the Empire's best shields like paper. "Sir," his communication officer shouted, "Earth's real fleet. They're behind us." Vale spun to see another 100 human ships appearing from their hiding places. They had used the sun's radiation to mask their heat signatures, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Status report," Vale demanded. 200 ships lost in the first wave. Another 50 disabled by electromagnetic pulses. Mars group is completely destroyed. We're being surrounded. Vale stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In just 1 hour, these primitive humans had destroyed almost half his fleet using weapons that the Empire had considered obsolete for thousands of years. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. "Emergency jump to safe coordinates." As the surviving Imperial ships fled, Vale received one last message from Earth. It was short and simple. "We warned you. Next time, we won't hold back." Vale looked at the devastation around him. "This was them holding back," he whispered. In his Earth command center, Admiral Walker watched the Empire's ships retreat. "Send word to all forces," he ordered. "Phase 1 complete. Prepare for their return. Next time, they'll be ready for our tricks. That's when we'll show them what we can really do." The first battle was over. The real war was about to begin. High Commander Marcus stood silently as he watched the emergency transmissions from the surviving ships. The holographic displays around him showed the devastating defeat of the Empire's fleet. 250 ships lost in a single hour. "Play the battle recordings again," he ordered. "Show me everything." The room darkened as multiple screens lit up, each showing a different aspect of the battle. Nuclear mines hidden as space debris, electromagnetic pulses that shut down their most advanced systems, simple metal projectiles that ignored their best shields. Sir, Rax said, entering the room with a data tablet. We've finished analyzing their tactics. Every move they made. It wasn't random. They knew exactly how we would attack. Marcus turned to his subordinate. Explain. We found old Earth records about something called guerrilla warfare. Smaller forces defeating larger ones by using surprise and deception. Rax brought up historical images on the main screen. Look at this. Earth's history is full of smaller armies defeating larger ones. The screen showed ancient battles, farmers defeating trained soldiers, tribal warriors overwhelming modern armies, small groups destroying massive war machines. And this, Rax continued, bringing up more recent Earth conflicts. They call it asymmetric warfare, using simple weapons against advanced ones, making strength into weakness. Marcus watched as primitive Earth weapons destroyed expensive military equipment. They'd been practicing this for their entire history, he realized. Every war taught them something new. There's more, Rax said quietly. We did deep scans of their planet's history. Most species evolved through cooperation, helping each other survive. Humans, he paused, humans evolved through conflict. The screen showed Earth's long history of warfare. Tribes fighting tribes, nations fighting nations, humans constantly testing themselves against each other, learning, adapting, improving their ways of war. While other species were learning to travel between stars, Rax explained, humans were learning to fight. They've had more wars in their short history than all other known species combined. Marcus walked closer to one screen showing human soldiers training. They practice warfare even in peace, he noted. Yes, sir. They call it preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. Their entire civilization is built around being ready for war, even when they don't want it. A communication officer entered the room. Sir, we've decoded more transmissions from the battle. You need to hear this. The room filled with voice recordings from Earth's commanders during the fight. They were calm, coordinated, almost like they were following a script. One phrase kept repeating, just like we practiced. They knew, Marcus whispered. They knew exactly how we would attack because we always attack the same way. We've used the same tactics for 10,000 years because they always worked. Until now, Rax added. Marcus turned to his officers. What are our options? Standard procedure calls for sending a larger fleet, one officer suggested. We could gather 2,000 ships. And they would have new tricks waiting. Marcus interrupted. No, we need to understand what we're really fighting. He pointed to the historical displays. These humans, war isn't just something they do. It's part of who they are. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire had spent millennia perfecting space travel, diplomacy, and civilization. Humans had spent their time perfecting warfare. Sir, Rax said hesitantly, their warning makes sense now. They weren't being arrogant when they told us to run. They were trying to avoid showing us what they could really do. Marcus nodded slowly, watching another replay of the battle. And this was just their first demonstration. Just their simple weapons. He turned to face his officers. What do you think they're hiding? What are their advanced weapons like if these are their primitive ones? The question hung in the air, unanswered. For the first time in its long history, the Empire faced an enemy that didn't just fight wars. They mastered them. High Commander Marcus stood before the Imperial War Council, his metallic face reflecting the red emergency lights that had been flashing since their defeat at Earth. The chamber was filled with the Empire's highest-ranking military leaders, all waiting to hear his report. Show them, he ordered Rax. The room's central hologram came to life, displaying a new scan of the solar system. What they saw made even the oldest commanders sit up straight. This, Marcus said, pointing to Mars, is what our deep scans finally found. The humans didn't just build bases on Mars. They hollowed out entire regions of the planet. There are shipyards inside Olympus Mons that could build 1,000 warships. The hologram shifted to the moon. And here, the dark craters aren't just hiding places. They're forward operating bases with weapons we've never seen before. Energy weapons that make our best guns look like toys. An admiral raised his hand. But our initial scans were exactly what they wanted us to see, Marcus interrupted. Everything we saw was a carefully planned deception. Those primitive chemical rockets, decoys, those basic satellites, hiding advanced weapon platforms. The hologram changed again, showing the asteroid belt. We found their real fleet, not the 100 ships we saw in battle. They have over 500 warships hidden in the asteroids alone, and each one carries weapons that could tear our best ships apart. The council chamber erupted in worried whispers. 500 ships was a massive fleet by any standard. And that's not the worst part, Marcus continued. The hologram zoomed in on Earth. We finally broke through their information security. Look at their military spending over the last 50 years. Numbers appeared, showing massive investments in defense technology. While the Empire thought humans were building simple rockets, they were actually developing weapons that combined primitive power with advanced technology. They played us, Rax explained. They showed us outdated technology while building something new. Something that takes our greatest weakness, our reliance on advanced technology, and turns it against us. Marcus walked through the hologram, his face grim. We found their military doctrine. They call it defensive superiority. For 50 years, they'd been preparing for someone like us. They studied our tactics from other conquests. They developed weapons specifically to counter our technology. Surely we can overwhelm them with numbers, one general suggested, if we gather all our fleets. No, Marcus cut him off. Look at this. The hologram showed Earth's weapon development centers. Massive underground facilities where humans had perfected their hybrid technology. Weapons that combine simple, proven designs with advanced innovations. If we send our entire fleet, Marcus explained, they'll use their full arsenal. Those nuclear mines we saw, those were their warning shots. They have weapons that could destroy entire fleets in seconds. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The Empire had spent 10,000 years becoming masters of space travel and conquest. But humans had spent their entire history preparing for this moment. There's something else, Rax added quietly. We found their contingency plans. If we push them too hard, he paused, looking uncomfortable. Show them, Marcus ordered. The hologram displayed plans for weapons that made even the most hardened commanders gasp. Devices that could make stars go nova, bombs that could crack planets. Technology that violated the laws of physics in ways the Empire had never imagined. They're not just warriors, Marcus concluded. They're survivors. Every war in their history taught them one thing: how to win at any cost. If we force them to use these weapons, he let the thought hang in the air. The oldest council member stood slowly. In 10,000 years, we've never retreated, never compromised. But we've also never faced anything like this. Marcus nodded. They warned us to run, not because they were afraid of us, but because they knew what they'd have to do to us if we fought. The question now is, do we listen, or do we learn the hard way why humans are the only species that mastered war before reaching the stars? Admiral Walker stood in Earth's main conference room, looking at the Imperial delegation across the table. High Commander Marcus sat opposite him, his metallic features unreadable. This was the first time humans and Imperial leaders had met face to face. Before we begin, Marcus said, his translator converting his words to perfect English, I must know one thing. Why did you warn us? You could have destroyed our fleet without saying anything. Walker smiled slightly. Because that's the difference between being good at war and being wise about it. The best victory is the one you don't have to fight for. The room was silent for a moment. Around the table sat Earth's military leaders and Imperial commanders, former enemies now trying to understand each other. Show them, Walker ordered, and the room's holographic system activated. This is what would have happened if you hadn't retreated after the first battle. The display showed simulation after simulation. Massive space battles where human weapons turned Imperial fleets into cosmic debris. Weapons that could make stars go nova, destroying entire solar systems. Planet-cracking bombs that could shatter worlds. We didn't want to use any of this, Walker explained. That's why we warned you. Not because we were afraid, but because we knew what we'd have to become to win. Marcus studied the simulations carefully. You could have conquered us, he realized. After destroying our fleets, you could have taken our worlds. Walker shook his head. That's where you're wrong. We never wanted to conquer anyone. Humans learned something important from our long history of war. The more powerful you are, the more carefully you need to use that power. The hologram changed to show Earth's history, not the battles this time, but what came after them. Former enemies becoming allies, countries that fought devastating wars now working together in peace. We developed all these weapons for one reason, Walker continued, to make sure we never had to use them. In our history, we learned that true strength isn't about winning wars, it's about preventing them. Marcus's faceplates shifted in what humans had learned was surprise. But all your preparations were defensive, Walker finished. Every weapon, every strategy, every deception. All of it was designed to protect Earth, not to conquer others. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to live in it, in peace. One of the Imperial generals spoke up. Then what do you want from us? Walker pressed a button, and the hologram showed a new image. A map of the galaxy with both human and Imperial space clearly marked. We want what we've always wanted, peace through strength. You recognize our space as independent territory, and we'll share some of our defensive technology with you. Not the weapons, he added quickly, but the protection systems. Together, we can make sure no one else has to learn about war the hard way. Marcus looked at the other Imperial leaders, then back at Walker. In 10,000 years, we've never signed a peace treaty. We've never seen anyone as equals. He paused. But we've also never met anyone like you. Walker stood, extending his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Then let's make history together. You've mastered the stars. We've mastered warfare. Perhaps together, we can master peace. Marcus rose and took Walker's hand, copying the human gesture. We accept your terms, and we finally understand your warning. It wasn't a threat or a boast. No, Walker agreed. It was a hope that we wouldn't have to show you why humans spent so much time preparing for war, because we know better than anyone what war really costs. As the leaders began signing the first peace treaty in Imperial history, Walker looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were reaching for the stars, developing their own dreams of conquest. But now, they would find something new. Humans and the Empire working together to keep the peace. The warning had worked, and for the first time in human history, their mastery of war had led to something better, a lasting peace.